Hello, hello, and welcome back to Hotter. It's been quite a few months, hasn't it?
It's
Really?
been a while, hasn't it?
And there's reasons, and for our absence,
There is.
In fact, actually, it's been a busy old time, hasn't it? Especially for you,
Absolutely. It's
with
been
the SHOT
flat
Show,
out,
and so. Obviously, the viewers will probably know we've had the SHOT Show in America.
Mm-hmm.
We've had the British Shooting Show.
Yep.
Which obviously we can talk about. I didn't go to the British Shooting Show. I was poorly, but you certainly saw quite a lot.
Yeah,
of
I did the SHOT Show and basically then hoofed back, and a couple of weeks later, or a week later, we were at the British Shooting Show. SHOT Show is SHOT Show. It doesn't change any year. It's a big show full of firearms mostly. You do have the airgun sector there. There was some new stuff being shown, but I think now the IWA show, the European show, which is next month, that is the primary one for airguns. That's where people really put their efforts in. It's not that American sales aren't important, it's just that SHOT Show's about firearms really. So that's the big part of it.
Yeah. Did you actually see anything though at the? I mean, obviously there's a lot of high-powered air rifles from a lot
There's
of
a bit more of that
manufacturers.
coming on. It's interesting because the feeling is that they're not selling these high-power air guns, but people like Crossman and et al. Are spotting this market segment for really high-power, big caliber air guns, and they're going for it. And I think when they see the spreadsheet at the end of the year, they're going, where are the sales? But I think that's what we who've been in the airgun industry a long time expect. That we don't expect big bore air guns to really pick off, because if you want a big bore gun, you're going to buy yourself a firearm. It's cheaper and more ammunition's more available.
The market seems to have been really sort of, I'm not saying stagnant, but it almost seems like America's been waiting to happen for air rifles for many, many years. I mean, going back 30 years, I remember talking to the guys from American Air Gunner, and they were sort of like going, yeah, it's coming, it's getting bigger, and but
absolutely,
it's been really
it's funny, isn't it? It's never picked up. It's been a steady progression, year in, year out, and sometimes it's like 1 or 2% a year, sometimes it's 5%, and everybody's been waiting for America to really kick in with air guns, and it's never happened. But it's still growing out there. It's a big market. You've got 300 million people doing their thing over there with firearms, and 2.1 firearms per head. So there's a lot of firearms out there. It doesn't take many of them to go into air guns to make a sizable difference to the market, but it's still very much a toy over there. They do see it as a training aid, as a something for kids, but there is increasingly an adult section who are getting involved in high-end PCPs, but it's a few thousand. And I think that the industry, the American industry, wanted to try and get air guns, big bore air guns, which they can hunt with, because they've got so much hunting land. It's all rural. So they can do that, but it hasn't really kicked in, I don't think. Though they're trying, they are trying. You've seen a few worthy attempts at the big bore stuff, but very low numbers.
Was there anything sort of stand out in the sort of in our market, in the 12 foot-pound market that came out in America, or? Not
really. It was more of what we were expecting to come. That was there. There wasn't really anything revolutionary. There were developments, different stocks, things that we knew were coming were on display, but no, I didn't. We didn't go around and see really anything. And the British Shooting Show had newer stuff, to be honest.
Yeah, I've seen some of the. I mean, unfortunately, I didn't manage to get there because I was ill. But I did see some of the coverage, and I thought that some of the new rifles looked quite interesting. Obviously, we've got the Hw100Bp, the bullpup.
Yes.
In 2 different configurations as well. They're doing the carbine bullpup and the standard bullpup, which is a new one.
I know. Well, they had the carbine bullpup, I think, about 6 months ago, didn't they? They had the sort of carbine length 110.
Just in case anybody's not seen it, we'll put a little photograph up somewhere on. But I'm sure by now, if you've been on any social media anywhere, you'll have probably seen the bullpup.
Yeah, I had a look at both of them. I saw the carbine one. I think at the that was at the game fair earlier in the year, last July. So I saw that one there, and that was quite nice. Very short cylinder. The 110 doesn't sell that well, so this is going to help it. But the bullpup, though, the Var-up bullpup, that looks interesting. Again, on a cylinder, so it limits its power potential for export. But they don't seem fussed about that. Seem to be happy with domestic 12 foot-pound markets.
It's funny actually. I've seen quite a few comments on our Facebook pages, as in, why do Varak take so long to do something? It's too late. Now, I'm in a slightly opposite opinion of that, because I remember when the Hw100 first came out. They were developing that for years. I can't remember now, maybe 5-6 years.
It was 5 years, wasn't it? 5 years development, and it was a PCP 20 years after everybody had a PCP.
Yeah,
so
the thing is, if you can learn from what happened, Varak contacted us and they were saying, well, what sells, and what have you got, and can you ship over some samples? And we were shipping guns over to them, and they were having a look at them, and I think they were taking the considered time to produce something that actually really worked. So you could turn around and say, okay, Varak they've lost a percentage of bullpup sales, but at the end of the day, they've actually, hopefully they'll have produced a bullpup that will be a quality piece of equipment like all the rest of Varak, but also as well will continue selling for quite a while, and probably a lot longer. I think they when Varak brings something out,
it stays forever.
It stays forever. Yeah, it literally does stay forever in the catalogue. There's very few discontinued Varaks. So I like the idea of Varak taking the time about it, getting it right, and producing something that actually will sell over a long period of time. People will be comfortable with. It'll be reliable. All the rest of it. So to all those people who sort of like rue the fact that Varak do take the time, I think actually it's not a bad thing. When they do it right, or when they do it right, and it comes out, and hopefully it'll be a fantastic product. The only thing I'm worried about is the price, because we're getting that £1,140 retail for the new bullpup.
Well, we've mentioned this on the show that everything is getting to be £1,000 minimum, and some of them over £2,000. So it's the way of the world, and the way of the cost of this engineering. It's expensive guns to produce, and that's the price they demand. I'm sure if Varak can make it cheaper, they would, and sell at that price. But they priced it where it is.
I don't know. There is always that, well, if they can do it, we can do it too attitude, I think, with a lot of people. And I understand that, because for maybe too long the manufacturers have not been making enough money. They haven't been making enough money to be able to put money back into research and development, and to advertise and to support the trade better. And if there is a bigger margin, no consumer's going to like that, but there is benefits to it, isn't there?
But the consumer doesn't have to take anything into consideration, just what he has to pay. But as you say, it's a tiny market, really. The airgun market is quite small. There's only so many guns that you're going to sell in a year, and it's like Apple with their phones. They're selling less phones, therefore they've got to charge more for them to keep themselves profitable and advancing. And the airgun market is no different. It can only sell so many products, so the only thing it can really do is make better products that they can charge more for, have a better margin, and therefore stay in business.
Well, I must admit, when I looked at the we'll call it the BP, I guess. When I looked at the BP, I was sort of quite impressed with it. I think they've done a really nice job. The styling looks right. It looks comfortable. I think the only negativity is the price.
It's heavy. Most bullpups feel heavier than they actually are, because the mass is more centralised. So when you pick one up, any bullpup, you generally go, "Whoa, this is heavy," and that's something you do hear a lot. The balance on it's really good, and of course it's a bullpup, so you've got 8 inches back, so you've got a full-length cylinder. You've not got that tiny little carbine cylinder, so you've got decent shot count, full-length barrel, so it'll shoot. I think
to be honest with you, the standard one will sell. I'm not so sure that people will need to go to the bullpup carbine, because at the end of the day, I looked at the specs and it was 4 inches difference. Which is not that much.
I don't think that gun will sell at all. It'll be a curiosity for people. And of course the 110, which is a fantastically well-engineered piece of kit, it's not that popular. So you take a half-size version, that's going to be less popular. So I could be wrong, but I think that's not going to sell.
Well, it's funny actually you're saying that, because the 110, when it came out, I did a little bit of a review video about it, and I must admit, I was sort of thinking it's not good enough, really. And obviously everybody's got the option of buying a second-hand Hw100, and that's what I would recommend. Instead of buying the new 110, buy a second-hand 100, and you're getting, in my opinion, a slightly better gun. But this year we did, a couple of months ago, I did sort of new airgun of the year 2018 on the Blackpool Air Rifles channel. And we were in that predicament again where there wasn't an awful lot out, that's come out new. And I gave the 110 carbine the sort of we did 3 price brackets. Yeah. I don't know if anybody's seen that, but everybody asked us. I think a couple of years ago I did a 2018 Airgun of the Year video, and I had one category, and obviously everybody said, well, why is there no spring guns, and why have you chosen something that's quite expensive, and maybe we should have this. So this year we did 3 categories. We did a sort of a cheap, medium, expensive, and in the medium category, or the sort of average price category, we sort of voted for the 110 carbine. Yeah. But I still don't think it's going to sell particularly well. It seems to be quite niche in comparison.
It's a nicely engineered gun because it's 12 foot-pounds only. It'll never go any higher because it doesn't have the cylinder capacity for it, or the secondary chamber capacity. But it is a beautiful gun. But they haven't sold. But of course, what Varak wanted was they wanted something to compete against the BSA. They wanted something in the lower price bracket, leaving the 110 really, or the 100 to make some decent margin for the retailers, because the retailers were all discounting the 100s to compete with the BSA. So what they gave them was a medium range product that they could compete with the BSA, and then push the 100 back into the margins that the dealers needed to stay in business.
Yeah.
So that was the thinking behind it. I think the engineering in it is superb, but people don't always like plastics. It's funny, isn't it?
No.
They've got this amazing plastic breech, which is incredibly strong. It's just nothing's going to break that. I think the aluminium breeches would break before that one, and yet people go, oh yeah, plastic, I don't like it. So they go to the 100.
I'll hold my hand up and say I'm exactly the same. I'd rather have a 100 than a 110 because it's metal, and maybe I'm just getting a bit old school. But also as well, the 110 did change some design elements, and like for example the new safety catch, which is really loud, which I don't like. And if you're a hunter, a loud safety catch is a real pain in the bloody arse, isn't it? Because no matter how carefully you take it on and off, and you don't really want in the situation to have to think, oh, okay, there's a rabbit over there. I'll take. Oh, I better be really careful with my safety catch and take it off. You want to just be able to snick it off and fire. So they did introduce some little design issues with the 110. Anyway, but I still think it's a good gun. I think the BP will probably do quite well, and I can imagine it coming up against something like the FX Wildcat, which at the moment the Wildcats are selling for around about £1,200. That's my favourite FX. I think they did a fantastic job with the Wildcat. And the Wildcat is a lot lighter than the BP, so I think that's going to be interesting to see how well the BP sells in comparison. Not everybody. In fact, everybody loves Virak and not everybody loves FX. But I think with the Wildcat, FX really did get it right. So which and I think that the BP is probably going to have its work cut out. In a way.
I think it'll do well.
Yeah,
we'll have to get one on the show. Have a look.
We will. I want to make sure that we get a production one. Because I think I've noticed recently there's quite a lot of people who are getting pre-production rifles direct from the factory, and I'd rather get something off the shelf. So it might take a little bit longer for us to get a BP, but it'll be a BP that's just that's just one of 1,000. It's not like anything special. It's just like one taken out of stock, and so we get probably maybe a more representative, let's call it that, more representative sample of what you can buy in the shops. So there was there was also as well the new Gamo, which I thought was quite interesting at the show. There was it reminded me of the BSA Defiant, but lighter and cheaper, and I think that'll be interesting in a way, because I don't think the Defiant's done particularly well for BSA. I think that Gamo might. And don't get me wrong, I'm not. Somebody accused me of BSA bashing recently because I wasn't really keen on the new R10. Because again, we've got plastic bits on it. We've got a plastic cheek piece, which I think is. Personally, I think it's not the right way to go, which seems to be backed up by a lot of my customers who are saying exactly the same thing on social media. They're saying they don't understand why we're getting these plastic cheek pieces now.
I do. I mean, the reason is that everybody's using Minelli, which is a fantastic stock maker in Italy, and Minelli use CNC machinery. So when you have an adjustable cheek piece where a conventional stock, you make the stock and then you bandsaw out the cheek piece and you put adjusters in. Well, that all takes time and there's an extra process. Minelli make the stock without the cheek piece. So it's all CNC made from a cut, you know, most economical cut in the wood, and they make the stock, and then they go looking for a piece of wood to fit in the cheek piece. Well, if you've got grain, it doesn't match, so it becomes a real problem for Minelli and everybody else to try and match the grain, and certainly.
So you're saying Minelli can't produce?
They don't make them that. I'm not saying they can't produce them that way. They're saying they don't. They make them for their own reasons. They make the stock blank without the cheek piece because it's, you know, they're running on turn machinery. It's computer aided machinery. They're running through a process that doesn't involve bandsawing out a cheek piece and retrofitting in adjusters. They then find the wood to match, and inevitably it doesn't match. And it's the same on laminates. It's a lot of problems with people with adjustable cheek pieces, the wood not matching the grain or the laminate not matching the shape. And they have to try and find laminate to fit in. But if you make the cheek piece out of plastic or use soft touch coat it, then you get around that problem. And that's what BSA and other companies are doing.
Sorry, but get around it, but at the expense of what looks like a fair portion of customers saying, do you know what, I'm not buying that gun because that cheek piece is bloody horrible.
Well, that's something that's got to be addressed by Minelli and others, isn't it? They've got to decide whether the extra cost of adding this extra, I don't know how they do it, but it's up to them to do it that way, of solving that problem of the grain not matching. Of course, the higher up the market you go, the better the grain gets, because there's more, you know, stock is 10 to 15% of the cost of the gun, sometimes more. So that's a sizable portion of money. So if you start adding on cost to the stock with, you know, bandsawing out and hand finishing and retrofitting because they'll do all the inletting for the stock, the back end of the stock, while it's still in the initial production process. That'll be part of the CNC process. Everybody else bandsaws it out and then comes back at the stock and starts fitting. It probably takes longer to fit the cheek adjuster or at custom stock than it does for Minelli to make the stock. So, you know, it's economy of scale and running it through.
Well, let me be a devil's advocate here. In that, like, I understand exactly what you're saying, but when you're putting a stock on a premium product, an expensive product, because I think the new R10, the BSA R10 is going to be, it's well over £1,000, isn't it? When you've got that, I think that you've not got the excuse. If it was a £299 gun, I can completely understand that. I sort of think, do you know what? If I saw a synthetic cheek piece on a £299 pre-charge, I'd be completely okay with it. It's not the fact that it's plastic per se, although I'm not keen on plastic. It's just the fact that, you know, we're talking about £1,000 air rifle. And sometimes, you know, that little extra bit, okay, so it might cost.
Well, it might
cost £10, £20.
Well,
it might, but is it false economy? Do you know what? What do you think, guys? I mean, you know, is it okay for a synthetic cheek piece to be on a £299 gun? Is it okay for a synthetic cheek piece to be on a £1,000 gun? If it's just to do with,
and are you prepared to pay more to have the job finished?
Right,
and will the companies do it? That's the other thing.
Well, I think you know, we'll see from sales. You know, BSA brought the Ultra XS out. I didn't like it, but that's my opinion, and everybody's got one. We stopped it.
You always have an opinion.
Our customers didn't like it. Our customers came in and saw it, and they didn't like it either. And the sales were so bad on the XS for us, the Ultra XS, that after 4 months we actually stopped selling it, and we only got it to special order. And I think we've done probably a couple, 2 or 3 maybe. So, you know, false economy. In my
cheap
opinion.
piece gate. Watch this space.
Cheap piece gate. So going back to, I'll just mention that sort of air gun of the year video. Did you see actually what we voted as air gun of the year? This is I was shocked about this. It took me months and months to do the video because I really didn't know what to do, and we added up things like sales, which was obviously important, you know. Price, value for money, etc., etc., and it ended up a Krall one.
Right. Yeah.
We actually voted the Krall MPO2 because the MPO2, in my opinion, last year was actually, just came completely out of the blue.
Yeah.
Our customers loved it. Our customers bought it. Our customers used them, and customers came back and said, "Wow, I bought this gun off you for £350. I think £359." And it's absolutely fantastic. And don't get me wrong, it's not, it's not a top end rifle.
Yeah.
And you can expect it to be not quite as good in certain areas. You know, the trigger wasn't. I think you've mentioned that.
Yeah, it was the length of pull that you need to be orangutan. Was that the one?
It was well. I guess, or just a normal size person. It actually turned out to be the rifle that like my customers came back and said, you know what, this is fantastic.
Yeah.
And it's really accurate.
It's got this image of all these orangutans coming in your shop. So it's such a great.
Well, funny enough, actually, a couple of the guys bought the guns, and they actually put different, the plastic bottle covers.
Yes.
You can buy different plastic bottle covers and reduce the size.
Well, you
by
see a lot of people doing them on, they're doing their own moulds and their own. Trying to think of the word. They're using
all the 3D printers.
Printing ones. I've seen. Yes, I've seen a few of those. They look pretty good.
Yeah, the 3D printing stuff's really come on. We've been selling 3D printed products now for about a year or so, and there's been you can see the difference in the quality of the finish. You know, the latest stuff that's coming out is fantastic. You know, and I guess 3D printers are obviously improving, and people are getting, they know how to do it. And the nice thing is we're getting customers who are basically buying themselves a 3D printer and coming to me and saying, "Oh, I've got this product. What do you think of it?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'll buy some."
Yeah.
And it's really good because you're encouraging these these little tiny industries developing from scratch, and I think it's really good for the market. It's lovely to see. So we've been encouraging that, and we want to see more of it. So 3D printed bottle covers. I think that'll help a lot for the Krall people who can't reach the triggers, but. Brilliant gun. Anyway, that was my air gun of the year.
Arm extensions,
Finger longerers. What else do you see at the show then?
Because I'm on a stand, I don't get off that much. The range were good. Air Arms had a fantastic range. They always do this thing, the sporting air rifle things. They had like 30 people.
They won air gun of the show.
They did, yeah. There was a Future did a competition. So I think the shortlisting for the top 5 was the Viararc 110. I think it was the Viararc 110. A BSA Defiant. I think that was shortlisted. The Day State Red Wolf, and an Air Arms, and also a Zabroya Jobby.
Yes.
Yeah. So they had those, and the voters, whoever the voters were, voted in the Air Arms.
S410.
510.
Oh, was it 510?
Regulated.
Right.
Which of course isn't out yet. So that one, have you seen one yet?
I've seen the non-regulated one. The regulated
one's not out yet.
so
that one's the one that won it.
But I was interesting. Very.
It's a media company running a vote for the consumer.
Do you know what? There's still a massive fan base for Air Arms rifles.
Well, they've sold a lot of rifles, haven't they, over the years? And this is the thing that you've got to reason with. I think they used to.
They've got a lot of happy customers.
A lot of happy customers, a lot of following, a lot of clubs that have got them, and so they get a lot of votes. You know. And as somebody's told me, you don't see Porsche winning car, do you?
No.
Because not too many people have a Porsche. So you end up with a different type of car. So it's nice for Air Arms, and Claire would look very happy winning it, so I'm delighted for her.
Yeah, good on her, yeah. And the Red Wolf, that's been a great product for Day State.
Absolutely,
in my opinion.
It's the number one product.
And do you know what? I'm sorry to say this, but it needs to be, because there's been issues, and it seems like, and in fact, actually, that won our high-end air rifle.
Right.
And do you know what? We did get some comments on on YouTube about it.
Yes.
Because people were still, you know, there's still a percentage of people that don't like electronics. There's a percentage of people that don't like any particular brand, you know, and some people. So
well, you're always going to get tribalism in any kind of product or any kind of sport. You're going to get people who are going to, I've always had BSA, so I love BSA and everything else is just junk, and you will always get that kind of thing. But, you know, it's a product for people to test and look at and play with, and it's a hobby. Try everything, you know.
Well, I like, you know, the Red Wolf has been I've been happy with it because the reliability has been considerably better.
Good. Yeah.
You know, and there has been problems in the past, hasn't there, with some reliability, and every manufacturer suffers this.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I'm not bashing Dare Stay, but you know, it does seem like manufacturers go through.
With your shop full of crowls, the only people who sell to you.
That's not true. But no, the Red Wolf's been a cracking piece of kit, and I just hope it carries on. To be honest with you, and obviously the Brocock stuff seems to be doing really well.
And I brought a couple with me. So
have you brought the laminate?
I have actually.
Right. Okay. Well, do you know what? I think I saw the pictures of the laminate. I haven't seen one in the flesh yet. Yeah. But what a gorgeous looking rifle.
Well, we've only got a minute left to this segment, so let's tell them what we're going to do in the next segment.
I have no idea.
Well, we're going to do. So there's lots of things that we like to do, and one of the things we like to do is cover older guns. And we thought that we would go through pump action pneumatics. And we've got a guest coming on our show on the next segment, and he's from Hills Pump, Ernest Hills. So the people who started the pump, they're coming on the show, and they're going to show us one of their old.
That'll be interesting.
And then we'll show you a few pump action pneumatics from the days of yore, and then we'll move on from there.
Excellent. And also as well, and more importantly, I'm going to show you my new hot air hat.
Are these available for purchase?
Well, it sort of matches, yeah. Great stuff. Anyway, right, we're going to go for a cup of tea here.
Lovely.
And we'll be back soon.
See you in a minute.
See you in a bit.
Thank God you two can talk.
That seemed to last about 2 minutes.
That was like that 28 minutes of pure chat.
Honestly, you guys are. But it's just like we sat in the pub.
That's the idea. Yeah, that's the
This
idea.
is the most boring pub visit I would
where we need to hold
ever
the show.
experience. I'd just be quietly in the corner getting pissed if that was a pub visit.
Camera shake.
Some people actually look forward to this.
Yeah.